Well, I think everyone's starting to come in to the to our web shop, actually our monthly meeting here, and into our room. So I'll go ahead and start off. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing great and fine with our new fall weather we're supposed to be having. My name is Julie Arthur, and I'm the CASH chair. I'm also the Executive Director of Facilities and Planning for Palm Springs Unified School District. So if we have any first-time attendees to our statewide school facility monthly meeting, if you would go ahead, or any new members, maybe put your name in the chat box and make sure that when you do, that you reply to everyone and all on there. That would be great. And what I'll do is if you put your name through there, at the end of our meeting, I'll go ahead and introduce you and welcome you to our meeting. So hopefully you'll stay with it through the whole meeting. So the CASH nominating committee is now accepting applications and to fill for one public sector position on the board of directors. All board members have 2-year terms. Public sector members have 8-year term limit. So basically that's 2-year terms, and you're able to re-up 4 times for the maximum of 8-year term limit. The term will begin at the 42nd Annual Conference in March 1st in Palm Springs, California. Nominees must be active members with leadership experience in the K-12 school facility industry, and self-nominations are highly encouraged. So if you think it's something you'd like to do, you could add to it. We would love to have you put in a nomination. And again, please self-nominate. That would be great. So the nomination deadline is this Friday, October 2nd. Please contact Greg Golick if you have any questions. Full nomination guidelines can be found on the CASH website under the News tab. So if I tell you, it's something that is enjoyable, it can be trying, but it will truly expand you as a public sector meeting member. So I highly encourage you to try. So next slide, please. And with that, we're going to talk about our CASH events and resources. So for your reference, CASH has created a COVID-19 resource page with information from state agencies, webinar content, news articles, more, and also our web shops that we've been doing. So please take a chance and click on that COVID-19 resource link and look around and see if there's something that might be able to help you. All right, next slide. So this is exciting. We have our virtual fall forum, first time ever virtual forum, and that's October 13th through the 14th of almost next month, I say, that's tomorrow. So the virtual forum topics are designed to help you continue to serve your school facility needs in a time of uncertainty, with the presentations by our California Economic Outlook with our economist, Mark Schneep of California Economic Forecast. I think that's, he is almost worth the registration fee in hearing what he's got to say. I always enjoy that. We also have our federal outlook at issues from Bob Canavan on Federal Management Strategies, Inc. We have a COVID-19 funding and other legislative and regulatory issues that we're going to discuss. Lessons learned from reopening schools amidst the pandemic. And as we all know, we're getting closer and closer. And those schools that have reopened, we'll be finding out from them what's happening and hopefully lessons learned. And also what's ahead on the state and national elections. Registration is now open and can be found on the CASH website as well. So if you have a chance, please go and register as soon as possible so that we don't fill up those positions on that. So, all right, next slide. So mark your calendars. The CASH Maintenance Network is pleased to announce our fall series of web shops. So these web shops will be held from 10 a.m. till noon and focus on creating and operating healthy learning environments to ensure the Williams standard of clean, safe, and healthy school facilities in the COVID-19 environment. Registration will be open soon and will be available on the CASH website. So as we kind of look through there, we're going to see our first one is November 17th, getting down to brass tacks, funding your M&O program and major maintenance projects. Then after that is December 1st, and that's reactive to predictive, long-term planning for school maintenance departments of COVID-19 era and beyond. And then December 3rd, creating and maintaining clean, safe, healthy, and resilient learning environments. The timings of these are spot on. I know our district is planning to reopen to our hybrid model come January. So districts that have opened a little sooner in other counties, again, we're going to hear from them, see what they're doing. And we know health and safety and cleanliness is going to be our top priority as we reopen schools. So that will be something interesting for everyone to see. All right, next slide, please. Okay, check your inbox. We have our Cash Weekly updates, email newsletter, and where each week we send a summary of the latest news, events, workshops, conferences, professional opportunities, and more. And those include our webinars, which have been so popular so far. So please open up that email. I know you're getting tons of emails right now, like I have from everyone in the world that I've never heard of before. But please make sure that you open up our Cash one because it always has good information on it. All right, next slide. Okay, so we've got our state agency updates. And first we have Ida Claire with the Division of State Architect update. Good morning, Ida. How are you doing?
Good morning, Julie. I am doing well, a little smoky here in Sacramento, but otherwise doing okay. Thanks for asking me once again to present to all 66 participants on the webinar. Good morning, all of you. A little bit about DSA and what we've been working on the past month. Our workload was a little bit slower in September. We had about $361 million worth of projects that came through the door for plan review. October, however, we're almost looking at a double that amount. It's $645 million of projects that are coming through the door. 155 projects constitute that $645 million. So November is also looking like it's going to be a busy month with 2 weeks in for appointments. We are at $236 million in projects coming through. So DSA continues to be busy. We continue to work from home. We have all our staff working from home and still not seeing clients in the office. Again, we encourage you to reach out to your plan reviewer if you have any questions on your projects or need a pre-application meeting and such, and we will arrange for that to be handled over the screen remotely. I think we're all kind of gotten used to this new mode of engagement, even though we do miss seeing you in person. But we hope that DSA is providing the service that you need even in this remote environment. If there's any issues, please, you can send me an email or you can reach out to the regional offices. We do have a survey as well. I sent out a state architect's message last month where there was a link to a survey. So if you got that message, we encourage you to give us some feedback because obviously we want to continue to improve and make sure that we're doing our job that we need to do to get your schools approved. A little bit about some of our other programs. We do have our final rulemaking in front of the Building Standards Commission on October 13th. Those are detectable warnings. I know that detectable warnings are very controversial. We worked really hard the past couple of years to try to clarify those requirements, and those are coming forth for approval, asking for approval with the Building Standards Commission on the 13th. After that, we are creating design guides for use of detectable warnings so that architects could use them and design with them in mind so that we can limit their use and only have them where they are actually need to appropriately be used, along with some other design guides that we have on the agenda for 2021. Real great accomplishment for the structural safety team at DSA. Our project inspector recertification program is now completely online. We had a recertification exam scheduled last May, which we could not move forward with because it used to be the training and the exam used to be all day and in person, first the training and then the exam after the day. And so when we scheduled those, it didn't really give an opportunity if someone had to miss that training, they could have lost certification. So once May passed and we got an extension from the governor for those individuals who were needed to recertify by May, we immediately started working on an online program, and that has come into play, and we've gotten really rave reviews. That allows the project inspectors, knowing that there is a deadline for them to recertify, they can start early on their own. They don't have to wait for DSA to schedule a day. They take the training online and then schedule an exam directly with DSA. So again, that has gotten rave reviews. And so we are very excited that we have moved that recertification program online. For all the design professionals out there, of course, we do have free online training for access compliance. And so you just need to reach out and look on the DSA Academy website to seek that training. A little bit about sustainability. We have our 5th session of our Getting to Zero in California Schools cohort coming up. Last month's session targeted understanding what energy use intensity targets are and how to establish them for your district. We're meeting with NBI later this week to really get the details down on the 5th session that we have coming up on the 21st. But it has been a very successful program, and we're very excited to continue it and looking at future iterations of our Getting to Zero in California Schools program. And then just to call and remind you that, of course, on October 22nd is the Green California Schools and Community College Summit. It's a virtual event, and that is also a forum where you can access a lot of resources to increase the sustainability of your schools in California. So other than that, I am free to take some questions if anyone has any. I'm assuming they would be in the chat, but Julie, I will ask you to probably see if there's any on there that they have.
I did not see any come through so far. So Ida, if you'll stay with us a little bit, and anyone that types it, we may jump back to you. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next slide, we have our California Department of Education coming up, and we have Juan Morales and Brian Boyd coming up. So gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to provide an update from California Department of Education. My name is Brian Boyd, and I'm a consultant in the School Facilities and Transportation Services Division. And today we'll have 3 updates for you. First of all, the effects felt by COVID-19 have been widespread and have created impacts unlike anything we've ever seen. The CDE has an ongoing effort to support students, families, and schools and districts and county offices of education during this pandemic. We are actively engaged in supporting these districts, and we have also provided 16 webinars that have discussed areas such as distance learning, special education, meals and nutrition services, and also providing childcare support and other important topics. I'd also like to mention a new publication from the California Department of Education, and it's a guide for the safe reopening for California public schools called Stronger Together. This document covers topics from health and safety, instructional programs, mental health, and community engagement, just to name a few. So if you've not seen this document, it's really helpful for you and your districts in regards to a safe reopening for California schools. That leads us to our next topic for today, and that would be the wildfires that we're experiencing currently. Another area of focus for us is in response to the California wildfires. As of yesterday, firefighters are battling 27 major wildfires. And since the beginning of the year, there have been over 8,100 wildfires that have burned over 3.9 million acres in California. This is an all-time high for the fire season. Homes have been destroyed. Some of our schools have not been spared during this fire season, and regretfully, lives have been lost. In the past, my division was only able to respond to one major wildfire at a time. Now we're responding to numerous fires at one time. But that has not diminished our commitment to support county offices of education and local education agencies. And today, I'm happy to report that we will have 2 more staff members who are solely dedicated to respond to emergency efforts and to help districts during these times of these disasters. And for our 3rd update, this leads us to our final update for this meeting. At this time, I'd like to introduce Juan Morales. He's our division director and for the School Facilities and Transportation Services Division. Thank you, Juan.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brian. I want to start off by just acknowledging the moment. Just like Brian mentioned, we started off the year with an unprecedented pandemic, and the department has done a lot of work to try and help school districts deal with the pandemic, helping to build and strengthen their distance learning programs and providing a lot of information to help students, to help teachers, and help administrators. And then now we're already at a record-breaking year in terms of the number of acres that have been burnt. And we continue to support school districts that have been impacted. But just like Brian mentioned, this is different because we have so many different areas throughout the state that have been impacted. And unfortunately, it's trickled down to impact our schools, to impact our students, and to impact our teachers. We continue to be committed to help support right now through the response efforts. But I got to tell you, it's devastating because there's a lot of people that have been dealing with this for the first time, but there's also communities that have been impacted for the second and third time. And you can imagine the total amount of stress and trauma of having to be evacuated again and having to deal with personal loss. So the department remains committed. Like Brian mentioned, we are thrilled to be able to have 2 new people that come on board and help with the department's overall efforts. I know that I've been in other presentations, and I've mentioned to a lot of you that the importance of preparedness. Unfortunately, even though we have a lot of active fires right now, we're not out of the woods yet. The most devastating fires have been in the months of October and November. So we're hoping that things get better. But if you haven't been impacted, please do what you can to prepare by making sure that you know who your local emergency operations center contacts are, and that you have staff on board who's going to be the liaison to work with them should you be faced with a disaster. So again, and we remain committed to helping support districts, and we hope that things get better. On a different note, I also want to take this opportunity to mention some leadership changes within my division. Brian mentioned we're going to have 2 new team members as part of our emergency services team, and they're going to help the overall department's efforts. But we also have 2 key new members of our leadership team in our division. Many of you know we lost Fred Yeager, who has been a tremendous asset to our division, and he has helped so many of you with your projects through so many years. We started the selection process, and I'm thrilled to announce that we are going to be having Mr. John Gordon be our new education administrator, who's going to be taking on the role that Fred previously had and basically leading our field operations team. For those of you that don't know John, he's been with our division for nearly 17 years. He served as a field rep for more than 35 counties, including the Central Valley, the East Bay, Bay Area, and Southern California. Under Prop 1D and 55, he administered the Career Technical Educational Facilities Program, which provided $1 billion to high schools through a competitive grant process. And some of you may not know that John is also a school board member for the Galt Elementary School District, where he's finishing up his term after 12 years in service. John has also held state and national leadership positions as a school board member representing CSBA and the National Hispanic Council. And John received his master's degree in public administration from the University of San Francisco and his bachelor's in communication studies at Sac State. John also completed his educational facilities planning program at the University of Riverside. Along with John, I'm also thrilled to announce that we are able to fill another key leadership position in my division, which is the lead for the Facilities Planning Policy and Standards Unit. And that person is Miss Leslie Taylor, who many of you know. Leslie started her career in school facilities more than 17 years ago. She was doing plan check for modernization projects at CDE while earning her bachelor's in government and Spanish. She later earned her master's degree in public policy and administration and worked as a private sector consultant for nearly 9 years before she came back to the department. She also served as a CDE field rep and administrator of the federal and state Green Ribbon Schools programs from 2002 to 2018. During this assignment, she was a field rep for more than 260 school districts in 21 Northern California counties. She led the consultant and development of the Title V regulations implementing SB 1404, and a significant contributor to the strategic plan for our division. So I am thrilled to announce that we have two new strong leaders that are going to help strengthen our division and support to all of you as we move forward and deal with the disasters, but also continue with our planning process to make sure that we build and modernize school facilities. Thank you. With that, be happy to answer any questions.
Well, Juan, I just see very quiet in the chat box today, so we'll go ahead and if anything comes on. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff, do you have something?
Julie, yeah, if I could just jump in. First of all, congratulations, John Gordon and Leslie Taylor. John, I hope we can still get you to come down to the Central Valley on occasion. I just wanted to give credit where credit is due to our state agents as one of the COEs that has had to deal with wildfires and have been working closely with 3 of our school districts that, the CDE team has been phenomenal. And I know that you're dealing with many fires at the same time, but when you're helping us, it feels like we're at the top of your list with issues. So thank you for that personal touch and bringing the perspective. And you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Jeff. Again, we wish that we wouldn't be involved with the disasters because we know that it impacts many of the school districts, but we're here to help and we're here to do what we can to help support during this difficult time. So thank you.
That's great. And Juan, we echo the same, that CDE as well as DSA during our really trying times have all stepped up to do an amazing work in helping districts. So it is very much appreciated.
I just want to remind the folks like Juan that if they need DSA assistance because of the fires, that our district structural engineers are on standby to assist and come out and check things out to ensure that our schools remain safe. So.
Great. Thank you, Ida. All right, let's go ahead and we'll move on to our next, which is our Office of Public School Construction. And we have Michael Watanabe with an OPSC update. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
Great.
A lot going on today at the board meeting tonight. In the EO statement, Lisa announced that the regulations for the board approved back in May for the facility hardship sizing program, those did go into effect on August 31st. OPSC Online was reprogrammed. We didn't realize every time there's a change to our programs that are this big, it takes a lot of programming months in advance. So we were working on that in parallel with the regs practically, but that is live. So if you'd like to take advantage of the new facility hardship sizing regs in OPSC Online, you can do that. The form SAB 54, the application for funding, was updated on our website as late as I think early last week. So if you downloaded the form right away on the day after that particular approval, there were some form fill issues, so it has been updated. So make sure you download the latest version of the form. We do have the cost estimate that's required for the program now available online in PDF format. We're working on Excel version. Excel is not very friendly from an ADA compliance standpoint. So if you need the form, we put a note on our website. Just email Silvana, the analyst over the program. She can email you in Excel. We'll have that in OPSC Online soon too under the resources tab so that you can download it yourself in the near future too. But we'll add that Excel version so you can manipulate the rows and insert all the columns you need. So that is available. Just a reminder, on time extension requests, we do continue to accept those. Please put enough sufficient detail to explain the COVID-related nature of the extension request. We'd also like to see more detail on how you intend to meet the deadlines too, rather than just requested extension and say it's COVID-related. We need a little more detail to explain it so we can understand what the issues are. And then lastly, the PIF request period closed on August 28th. We had extended that because of COVID. Every project that was eligible to participate in the priority funding process did request to participate. So nobody got a non-participation request. In total, we had 964.1 million in requests. We got word earlier this week through the October bond sales and commercial paper issuances, we'll have cash for to fund all those projects. So those will go forward at the October board. In the action items section of our agenda, we have the funding item for the 6th round of the CTE. We had 249 apps. We were oversubscribed at 427 million. We only had 287 million available. We went down the funding matrix with all the new rules that the board approved, including moving the town locale to rural. As a result, 178 applications are being recommended for unfunded approvals tonight for 287 million. It leaves about 800,000 on the table. In normal times, we would just fund the next project in line and give them a partial apportionment. But because the board elected to hold the apps until December 31st of 2021, we'll just wait for money to return to the program. That way that project can be fully funded, whoever becomes next in line. We are asking the board to extend that application period, how long we're going to hold it, until June 30th, 2022. The COVID causing the delays in the projects and the filing round, we think it's appropriate to just hold the apps longer. So we'll hold those for additional 6 months. Just a reminder, all those that have a reservation of funds, you have 12 months to submit your CD and DSA plan approvals to OPSC. And then you'll have your 90 days to request a fund release once you receive apportionment. And then lastly, for those CT projects being approved tonight, on November 11th, the next priority funding round opens up for 30 days. So you will be required to participate in the priority funding process for the spring bond sale. Another action item we have is the emergency powers for the executive officer. Back in March, the board approved regulations to allow Lisa Silverman to extend some of the deadlines in our regulations and statutes as a result of COVID-19. With all the wildfires and the delays those are causing the school districts, we're seeing a need to broaden that and expand. So what we're recommending the board is approve regulations to make them permanent. Originally, they are going to sunset after 180 days unless extended by the board. So we're asking the board to make them permanent and allow for not only COVID-19, but anything that the governor declares a state of emergency. Gives us more flexibility to work with anyone that needs more time on the deadlines. So there's that item being recommended. And then the last action item is the use of surplus site sale proceeds. Those school districts that we want to sell property and deposit those funds in the general fund. SB 820 was chaptered on September 18th, just a week and a half ago. That adds a few clarifying changes and makes flexibility for the SFP. But this fund does allow you to transfer the proceeds from the sale of sites, purchase non-state funds, and deposit into your general fund. The statute is set to sunset July 1st, 2024. But proceeds from the sale of sites where the sale of the site was started before June 30th of 2024, you are allowed to continue to make those deposits as well. You do, as a school district, need to make a few certifications through your school board that you have no major deferred maintenance needs. The sale does not violate local bond restrictions, and the property is not suitable to meet projected school needs for the next 10 years. Unlike the other existing 17,462, you are not prohibited from participating in the school facility program or the deferred maintenance program. You are unable to participate in the financial hardship grant funding, though. The statute amendments also make it clear that you can still participate in the facility hardship program, though. So it's just the financial hardship aspect that you cannot participate. OPSC does have a web page outlining the same procedures that are in the board item. If you'd like to make a request to take advantage of that authority offered, we do have a website for how to submit those requests. And we also have an email blast going out, I think, on Monday to reiterate it all as well. So that's the board meeting. I got a few questions. Repeat what I had about the cost estimate. So the Form 5801, it is in a fillable PDF format on our OPSC website. It is not usable. It is not really user friendly just by nature of being a PDF. The forms, you can fill in the field, but you do have to type each one in there. And with Adobe, you can't do a lot of formulas in there. So we are making the Excel version available for everybody to use. You'll email Silvana. Her email address is on our website. And she can send you the Excel version so you can insert all the rows you want and copy and paste data from your Excel worksheets, what have you. And then in the near future, it will be available in the resources tab in OPSC Online as well. And then second question from Julie. Yes, all CT projects approved for unfunded approvals tonight must participate in the November PIF round, or you will get a non-participation occurrence. You can elect to do that. If you do that though, you will have to participate in the round that follows, which will be the second Wednesday in May of 2021. Otherwise you'll get your second non-participation occurrence. And at that point, your project would be rescinded if you receive 2 non-participation occurrences. All right. A few more items to note. We sent an email blast. We have a full day kindergarten stakeholder meeting on October 7th via Zoom from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. It'll be a 2-parter. SB 98 approved on June 29th, rescinded the $300 million from the program. We had to make corresponding changes to the regulations because they all reference that round of money. What the regulations are doing is it's making it a little bit more broad so that if funding becomes available in the future, we're ready for it. At current, we're proposing that if funding becomes available for the program, that we will start a filing round within 180 days after that. SB 98 did retain the allowance that if you are converting from part-time to full-day kindergarten, the state district match is a 75-25 split. The statute also did retain the ability of school districts to retain savings for the projects for those teachers training and what have you. The reg amendments presentation probably won't take that long, but we are seeking any feedback necessary for clarity-wise. And then we'll propose taking to those regulations to the October board tentatively. The regulation stakeholder meeting will be followed by a K-12 audit presentation. It'll be mostly focused for those participating in the full day kindergarten program. It isn't as long as we normally do for the SFP, but it'll cover all the same general information. So that way those school districts that got funded already from FDK are prepared for their audits. And then lastly, the next SAB meeting is October 28th. It'll be 4 p.m. via Zoom. And as a reminder, we'll be doing PIF apportionments. So you'll have 90 days from the October 28th board meeting to submit your fund release request. And that's all I had today.
Hey, Michael, any idea on dates and times for the SAB in December?
December, we generally do second Wednesday. We are polling all the board members now for December 9th.
Okay.
I don't know if we have a quorum yet. They're polling as of yesterday, though.
Okay.
So more to come. And generally that December 9th meeting is at 2 p.m.
Okay. Was that one of the 3 throughout the year that's earlier than the
Right.
Yeah. All right. Great. Well, Michael, thank you so much. I think that's it. I think you answered all the questions in the chat. So good news, because I'm part of that CTE, one of those, first page of people who got funding. So you'll be
Great.
seeing my paperwork here pretty quick.
Sounds good. We'll look out for it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. All right. Next up, we have our legislative, regulatory, and maintenance network updates. We've got Rebecca Curley, Nancy Chairs Espinosa, and Ian Padilla, who's going to be providing our updates on current legislative and regulatory issues. So Nancy, who's first up?
I'm gonna start and then toss it to my colleagues.
Okay, great.
Hey folks, well first off, I want to echo the comments that Juan made about just, not the state of the world, but focusing more on wildfires in California, and just say that first, we appreciate very much the work that so many people throughout the state, but particularly those of our partners here in the state agencies are doing to help those affected by wildfires. There are 5 major complex fires going on right now. And our goal is to get everybody back to normalcy, get those kids back in school, obviously, and everything that they are doing is in support of that. And we're deeply, deeply grateful. Cash also stands at the ready if there's anything that we can do to help you, your school district, your clients get back to what they need to be doing. Please don't hesitate to call on us. And on that note, today is the last day for the governor to sign or veto bills passed by the legislature in this session that just ended. It's, there should be Hallmark greeting cards for it. It's a big policy wonk nerd holiday for us. We will be reviewing all of those actions and issuing a highlight email for cash members. Then we will delve deeper into that at a workshop in the fall forum. That's the legislative update workshop. So far, there's a package of housing bills, and unrelated to that, there have been executive orders related to energy. None of those things are directly related to school facilities, but those conversations benefit us. As lawmakers and the public get used to the idea of investing in zero emission energy, in zero net energy, climate adaptation, disaster resilience, all of those things will benefit us when we come through with our asks, current ones and future ones. So some key dates. You may have heard there's an election coming up, November 3rd. This year is a little bit different. All registered voters are going to receive an absentee ballot. You can either mail that in or you can drop it off at a vote center. Please vote early, but not often. And the connection to our world here is that many legislators are, of course, on that ballot. Those who are continuing their term or those who are newly elected will convene in an organizational session of the state legislature on December 7th. And we will see bills introduced on that date. We always do. And so that's just a one-day meeting. Then they go back to their districts. And on January 1st, all of the statutes from the new bills take effect unless they had a specific bill to, unless they were urgency bills and they immediately became law, or they had a specific date in them that delayed their implementation. But the default date, the default effective date for all of those new laws is January 1st. Then on January 3rd, the legislature is going to reconvene and we're going to do this all over again. It's probably going to look a lot like it did this past year, where they're going to try to minimize contact and continue all of the social distancing measures that they had before. And with that, I am going to hand it over to my colleague, Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Nancy, for a great update, kind of setting the stage. I did want to talk about one of those bills that we do have an action on from the governor, and that's SB 820. We talked a lot about this bill last month, and this is the education trailer bill that was introduced in the last days of the legislative session. So it didn't have any public debate in committees or the typical process as it was introduced as a budget trailer bill. But there are a number of provisions in there that do affect school facilities, and these go into effect immediately because it was an urgency bill, like Nancy said, to implement the fiscal year 2021 budget. So I'm just going to run through a couple of these quickly. We did talk a lot about this last month. Feel free to reach out if you've got questions about any of these individual provisions. The first is a change to the Williams inspection process. So there are a number of exemptions that have now been provided in order to help streamline this process for the part of 1920 that was affected by COVID-19 closures and for the entire 2021 fiscal year and school year. So first, it allows the required annual report for your deciles 1 through 3 schools to be completed using information obtained through means other than physical visits to school sites. So think something like surveys to teachers and administrators. It also waives the requirement to annually conduct a site visit of deciles 1 through 3 schools for any school that does not offer in-person instruction for those parts of 1920 or the 2021 school year. It also waives the requirement that 25% of the deciles 1 through 3 site visits be unannounced. You can still do the unannounced visits as long as you're following your local and state public health orders and guidance. So for the county offices that I've talked to, a lot of them are still proceeding essentially business as usual with the Williams inspections, but don't be surprised if there are some changes that will occur as a result of this waiver. The second thing to mention is learning loss mitigation funds. So that was $5.3 billion that was provided, but primarily by federal dollars through the CARES Act, but also from some other state and federal sources to help schools support students with additional academic and integrated pupil supports as they come back to school this year. SB 820 expands the allowable uses of these funds to include the purchase of personal protective equipment, supplies to sanitize and clean school sites, as well as school buses, and public health testing and other related needs. So this is similar to something that Cash was working on earlier in the year, which was the school reopening block grant. We were supporting funds specifically to help with some of these expenses. While that was not included in the final budget, this expansion to use the CARES Act money for these purposes may be helpful, especially because the CARES Act dollars do need to be spent by December 30th of this year, unless Congress extends that date. Another change is on school facility program audits. So this is our new audit process that came into effect in 2017. A couple of changes here. The biggest one, I think, is that there's a change in who the collection agency is for any audit findings or for any funds that do need to be returned through adjustments. OPSC and not CDE will now serve in that collection agency role. And there are some other changes to the submission and review process, such as the auditor needs to submit the audit within 60 days upon completion of that audit, and then the controller needs to send any audit findings to OPSC within 60 days of receipt of the audit and determination that it does follow our state auditing guidelines. Surplus property, we had heard earlier in the summer as part of the budget that there were some flexibilities on the use of proceeds from the sale of surplus property for one-time general fund uses. This bill, SB 820, is expanding some of those flexibilities. In particular, it exempts you from doing the 7-Eleven public advisory process if the property that is being sold was not previously constructed or operated for K-12 or early childhood education purposes. And lastly, routine restricted maintenance account. This is one that Ian talked to you about last month, but just briefly, the bill is excluding from that 3% contribution calculation two things. One-time learning loss mitigation and school meal program dollars. So those are one-time dollars that are not going to be included in the calculation. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, I did want to talk about that November election that Nancy mentioned and the local bonds that are on the ballot, and to also encourage you to attend the Cash Fall Forum, as we're going to be exploring this a little bit more. So each year Cash reviews the bonds that will be on the ballot. This year there are 60 bonds worth $13.4 billion on the November ballot. One of those is actually a $7 billion bond. So half of the dollars being requested for approval by voters is from one bond at the Los Angeles Unified School District. We are seeing that that is a pretty significant decrease from what we've seen in prior presidential election years. For example, in 2016, there were 184 bonds, so 3 times the number that we are seeing this November. So we're going to talk more at the Cash Fall Forum in one of the breakout sessions about local bonds that are on the ballot, why this is happening. Spoiler alert, one of the reasons we believe from polling and other analysis is related to AB 195, which changed the ballot label language that is required for your local bonds. So that's having a chilling effect. Obviously, coronavirus and other things are in the mix too. I call it the soup of issues, but we're gonna, we've got a great panel that is going to be exploring this in more detail. So we encourage you to attend the Cash Fall Forum, and that panel is at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, October 14th. We're also gonna look at strategies and options for operating in this sort of brave new world as far as making sure that you've got revenue in order to do your vital school facility projects. And with that, I am going to hand the talking stick over to Ian. Thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca and Nancy. Appreciate your updates and your work through this time. Just quickly, I appreciate Rebecca your update on the 820 bill. Kind of a little bit different than typical. There's a lot for us, the school facilities maintenance community, in that bill. I think you did a real nice job of covering that, but that's significant stuff from the RRMA. All those pieces are all the pieces that we've worked on, and it is good to see that they're there. Of course, Nancy talked about where we are in the process, the legislative process, and that's the very last hours of this one. And of course, I and all of Cash, a lot of other folks are waiting for the governor's action on AB 841. That's the bill that would allow districts to make investments in HVAC systems and do assessments, air monitoring, CO2, all the issues that you've heard a lot of Cash talk about in the last 3 months of necessity. So stay tuned. I checked about an hour ago. We still don't know on that one. Either way, that issue will continue to be a significant one, and Cash will continue to focus on it. But we hope that bill obviously passed. Obviously, we've talked to you a lot about it. Maybe you know a little bit less. We've done a lot of advocacy work in support of that with the sponsors, other coalition members, stakeholders to support that bill. We think it's pretty important, and we put a fair amount of time and energy into making sure that it did get to the governor and that he considers it seriously. So we hope he considers it and that he signs it. So more to come on that one. Related to that, and I wanted to thank Julie for talking about the maintenance network workshops, really web shops, a little bit deeper trainings that we're planning for the fall after the fall forum, focused basically on the kind of the big issues. Really, you've seen our guidebook that we've developed and the experts that have participated in that. Really, these workshops start there and then go deeper into the issues that we've heard from you are significant. Air quality certainly is one of those, but the 3 workshops focus on funding, planning, and kind of a forward-looking how to create healthy school environments in a COVID era and also beyond. And so that's air, water, energy, all those types of things. So you'll hear more about that, and we certainly hope you participate. Also, and my colleagues have done this as well, encouraging you to attend and participate in the fall conference. The M&O network also has a lot of programs there. One of them, just quickly, is kind of an informal session with Jim Hackett on small projects, the kind of projects that you might look at with for indoor air quality, for all these things that I just talked about. How to get those approved. Do you have to or not? All the details. Joe Dixon is working with Mr. Hackett on that, and that should be a very good one. That's going to be an informal discussion starting at 8 a.m. on the 14th. The last thing, continuing to go on these same issues, and I think I mentioned that the Green Schools Summit is in November, and Nancy and I are doing a webinar there with Roger Silvera and Rex Wang, again on the indoor air quality issue. A lot of you folks have heard about it, but this is more expanded audience, so we're glad for the opportunity to let some of those folks know, and frankly bring some of them along on how important this indoor air quality piece is long-term, not only in the COVID era, but long-term. So we'll be doing that as well. I think with that concludes my comments. I would like to conclude, say just quickly, same thing with the good work I'd like to support and call out the good work our partners in the state agencies have done. They're dealing with these things on an everyday, a real basis, and it's significant. Everyone in California knows how significant this is, and we appreciate your efforts. So thank you very much.
All right, great. Thank you. So next slide up. Hey, and before I jump to that with Nancy, I just want to say, if you want to see someone get excited about talking about HVAC, you got to watch Rex Wang with Leaf. He is someone who truly gets excited about.
He's got videos. He's into it. Exactly. That's those two are really. I'm glad that comes through, because they're really passionate about what they do, and it's an important issue. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very dynamic presentation they give. All right, Nancy, why don't you come back in and talk with us about the School Energy Coalition update?
Happy to. So I think Ian mentioned that we're still waiting on AB 841 by Assemblymember Ting. This is a bill that would create the School Energy Efficiency Stimulus Program, and it also provides some resources for drinking water quality on school sites. We're getting a little bit nervous that it hasn't been signed yet, but it is a major bill. And I believe Department of Finance had some concerns about cost. On a parallel track, the School Energy Coalition continues its conversations with the State Treasurer's Office and others on the development of resources for school energy projects. And we're looking at ways that are within the existing authority of state agencies, such as the Infrastructure Bank. So stay tuned, things are moving ahead. I'm gonna jump ahead. Feel free, Caitlin, if you wanna move the slide to Californians for School Facilities. I know the agenda says Ian, but I'm actually gonna do a quick update on that. So on Monday, I believe Speaker Pelosi presented a compromise measure, a $2.2 billion economic aid package that includes $436 billion for state and local governments, as well as money for education, for testing, airline industry workers, and for the Paycheck Protection Program. It would provide a new round of direct payments to Americans of $1,200 per taxpayer and restore the federal unemployment benefits of $600 a week through the month of January of next year. The White House, however, has indicated that it would approve as much as $1.3 billion in economic aid. So we're not there yet. Regardless, we do not expect any action on further economic aid until after the election. So stay tuned. And those are my SEC and CSF updates.
All right, great. I think, Nancy, that was a T, not a B, a trillion on that one in between there.
My apologies. Thank you so much for the correction.
Yeah, it's amazing how we throw those words around now, isn't it? Between trillion and billion, crazy. All right, so Caitlin, if you can skip to the next slide, one more slide, please. Let's go ahead. Jeff, would you come join us, our Vice Chair of Cash, and talk about the annual conference?
Yeah, thank you very much, Julie. We are excited. Planning for the 2021 conference is in full swing. Please join us March 1st through 3rd in Palm Springs. It should be beautiful in Palm Springs that time of year. Attendee registration is already open on the CASH website, and hotel reservations will be open in a couple of weeks in mid-October. And the sponsor and exhibitor applications are also coming soon. So please be sure to check out the CASH website for all of that information, general information about the annual conference and getting registered and getting a hotel reservation. And if we could jump to the next slide, please. I want to highlight the CASH AIA Design and Planning Awards. Since 1991, so over 30 years, CASH and AIA California have recognized excellence in design through the Leroy F. Green Design and Planning Awards. If your firm has a project that demonstrates excellence in design that you'd like to share with the K-12 school facilities community, then this is the competition that you need to get that project into. And new this year is that entrants may submit videos of projects in addition to or in lieu of still photographs. So that's a new way to highlight your project this year. And the call for entries deadline for that has been moved out to October 2. That's coming up very quickly this Friday. So please get your projects submitted for that. And for more information on that and to register projects, you can also find that information on the CASH website. So thank you very much for that. And Julie, I will turn it back to you.
Hey, Jeff, before you jump off, can
Yeah.
you tell us on it, and I know I'm asking, I've been on it before. Can you talk a little bit about the committee that actually looks at these and how these design packets come in?
Yeah, actually, that's a lot of fun if you ever have a chance to participate in it. We take all of the projects that have been submitted and get together with folks from CDE and the state architect usually, and folks from AIA California, and review each project. Takes a good day to go through all of those, and it's kind of done in a method that keeps it somewhat blind. Just a lot of fun to see the creativity that's out there with our design professionals in the school facility community.
Well, and that is one of the criteria, I think, too, is that no one on the panel that's looking at those actually knows who submitted the project. You may see the County Office of Ed or school district in it, but there is nothing in the projects that are submitted in that process that allows to see what company or architect firm actually submitted it.
Right. The design firm is kept out of that equation, so it's gives everyone opportunity to share their work with equal chance of being selected.
And how is the video going to work this year with that? Will they just put a video, well, I guess I shouldn't even say a fly through, but more a video of the completed project?
You know, that some projects are completed, some are in the design stage, depending on the award. So we're letting the firms make the call as to how they want to use videos for that. But I'm excited about how that's going to make the presentations at the annual conference even more dynamic and get a good feel for the project that you may not get from just from still photos. You'll see how the flow throughout the campus works, for instance.
Oh, that'll be, you know what, that'll be really interesting, because to watch those videos, have you any ideas of how those at the annual conference will actually be able to see those videos? You're going to do the little QR code, or you're going to actually have something where they can hit a button and watch the video?
Well, I think that we'll incorporate some of them into the actual award ceremony itself, and that's a really creative idea that we can look at as far as having QR codes so folks can see videos on their own time as well, maybe through the app. So we'll work with staff.
Okay, great. Sounds exciting. That's a big change, and so always great to change for the better.
Definitely, and this is the year of technology changes.
Absolutely, we are adapting and we are embracing all of these changes.
For sure.
All right, let's go ahead. Next up, as we're getting close to signing off here, we've got our job exchange and people's choice. And if you have an upcoming RFQ or RFP or a job opening at your district or firm, please feel free to utilize the CASH Professional Opportunities Job Board to reach a wider and more diverse audience. CASH members can log into the CASH website and post their job or RFP or RFQ there. So it's something I've taken advantage of a couple times. So please do and take a look at it. Kind of gets your information out to a wider audience. I know a lot of times we advertise through our CASMO partners there, as well as sometimes local papers. But honestly, it's a great way to get it out statewide, because not everyone wants to stay in their location and many are looking for an opportunity to move around. So it's a great opportunity. Next up, before we jump, we'll put the CASH one up for our next CASH day. But as I said, I wanted to, anyone who had put something in the chat box of our new members or new attendees, and we had Matt Cohen actually. So welcome, Matt. He's with Shaw Sports Turf. So thank you very much for sharing that you're a new member, a new attendee. And we hope you come back to our next meeting, which is October 28th on Wednesday. So mark your calendars for the next CASH day. And hopefully we will see you then. Anything else? I didn't see anything else in the chat box, but if you do have something, we're going to have our state agencies on again next month, hopefully, and we can ask questions at that time. So with that, I want to thank you everyone for attending and all the information, and our panelists for all the information they shared today. Great stuff, a lot of things going on, moving parts. So please feel free to make sure that you stay informed by coming back and seeing us next month. So with that, I'll sign off and say have a great week, and we will see you at the fall conference. We'll see you soon. Bye.